If you have a wet crawl space and have been afraid to go in that crawl space, let me show you how easy it really is to solve the water problem down under your house. I promise that you can do this yourself and truly save tens of thousands of dollars by doing it yourself.
Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today I'm going to show you, what we feel is the best way to correct a water problem in your crawl space. And then we're going to install a sump pit and a sump pump, and the footer towers are going to bring that water up from where it enters across the footer and from the rest of the crawl space into the sump pit. The sump pump's going to lift it up and take it out. So first thing we have to do is pull back this moisture barrier, if you can see it. Let's take a look. We're going to pull this moisture barrier back away from the wall, and then we'll go ahead and start trenching so that we can put our gravel and perforated pipe. Remember that this is perforated, it has holes in the bottom, and we're going to point those down into a base of gravel, and we'll trench that, cover it with gravel, send it over to that pit, and we're done. So let's take a look at the tools you need. You need what we call a sharpshooter. This is just a trenching spade, and it's 6 inches wide and 16 inches long. And then you need a small regular shovel, but it's just half a shovel because you'll use that to dig your sump pit. You need a rake so you can grade out that excess soil. As you do the trench, you can just grade that out. You're going to need some type of hammer drill to core through the foundation wall, to drill through that brick, because that's where we're going to bring the pump up and come out. We use a Bosch hammer drill and a 2-inch diamond core bit to come right through. Of course, you're going to need a sump pump. I wouldn't suggest that you buy one from Lowe's, however you can, but this is a Zoller M53, third of a horsepower. It's a great pump. These things last for a long time. They pump about 60 gallons per minute. That's a couple of trash cans of water per minute. So the first thing we're going to do is pull back this moisture barrier a good distance from this wall. And the reason being is that we want to go on this side of the pier as we come back. Looks like they've taped this up, but not a problem. You just pull it on back. And you can see how wet it is underneath it here. Quite wet. Pull it all the way back, get it out of your way. So once you have your moisture barrier pulled back, if you have one, you're going to come inside here and we're going to start using our trenching shovel, our sharpshooter. We're going to start at the back there and dig towards the pit. The sump pit's actually going to go right here, and we'll drill through this wall. Digging in the crawl space with very little headroom, as you can see, very little headroom is kind of difficult, but once you start into this, it'll get easier and easier. Basically, we're just going to pull this dirt up and set it out as we trench. We just need to get down about 8 inches. That's deep enough for our pipe and our gravel. What we're doing is we're creating a trench for that water to come in. Whoops, let me get out of the light. Create a trench for that water to come through here, and it'll go over to the sump pit. So once you have your footer tile dug, you go ahead and put a base of gravel down. That's what this is. Just a small base of gravel, a couple of inches. And then we're going to pull our pipe down through the trench. You see these holes? We want to make sure that the holes are pointing down into the trench, because water, what it does is water floods into the system, floods through the gravel and up into the holes of the perforated pipe, and then is carried away. So bringing the gravel in, again, it is pretty difficult, but usually you can find a crawl space vent, and then we just pour it through the vent or drop the bag through the vent. But this is a tight crawl space. Maybe yours is the same. Secret is keep your smile. Let me get some more bags. However you can get them under that thing. Like I said, the bag's contained, so you can just roll it. Or you we can try to throw it. Usually you can throw it about a foot. These weigh 50 pounds apiece. So just be careful that you don't hurt yourself. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and we've got a base of gravel. We're going to go ahead and pour the gravel. So remember, make sure that your holes are pointing downward into the trench. There's actually a green or a blue line here on the top. That'll tell you that the holes are pointing down. And then take your gravel, and you take your gravel by the bag, and you just pour it right on top. One bag usually only goes about maybe a foot and a half, because it's filling in along the sides of the pipe as well as covering it. Remember how the system works. Water doesn't directly drop into this. It actually floods from underneath, through the gravel, through the voids of the gravel, into the holes of the pipe, and the pipe carries it away. But to be honest, water actually flows through the gravel for a long time before it gets into the pipe. There's so many voids in here, it's like a giant drain. It just drains real quick out of the area. So let's keep on going. So you can see our gravel is brought back up to grade, goes all the way back to the corner of the crawl space, and it's going all the way over here to the sump pump. This is what it'll look like before we knock down this soil. We're just going to take a rake and knock this flat on both sides, and then we're going to put this moisture barrier back over top of that. And it's all done. I mean, it only took an hour to do all this. It really goes quick. Let me show you over by the sump pump next. So as your footer tile comes through the footer trench, we come over to the sump pit. We have a hole down here. You can see my hand coming in and out, I think. Maybe. It's pretty dark. There we go. You can see my hand coming in and out. This is the nipple, the inlet line. We're going to lay the pipe over the pit about 6 or 8 inches, and we're just going to cut it off right here. Then we're just going to slice the end of this pipe so that we can squeeze it together. About 4 or 5 inches. And you squeeze it together. And we're going to put it down through the nipple. And the pipe will expand. You can see it expanding there and be nice and tight and secure. Now we're ready to go ahead and cover the rest of this up with gravel. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the rake and just push this dirt over towards the wall, because we want it to be higher at the wall than it is over here. And you just grate it off. Comes out really quick. And that'll force that water into the trench from the backside. Now we're going to go ahead and pull this moisture barrier back. And you know, pretty much however you can get it back, it doesn't really matter. So now we're ready to install the sump pump, and we've got 1.5 inch pipe, which is the discharge. I've already put the male threaded 1.5 inch adapter. It screws into the port. Glued a small piece of PVC as our first riser. This is a check valve. This only allows water to flow one way. And if you look closely, you'll see there's an arrow that tells you the direction of water flow. Make sure that's pointing in the right direction, which is up. So we're going to set this sump pump down into the pit. Let's do that. Hopefully you can see down there. The pump's pretty heavy. It weighs about 20 pounds or so, but it doesn't matter where it's sitting right now. That's not going to be an issue. I went ahead and cut a small riser, We're just going to temporarily stick it in place here because this is going to bring the water up. Now we need to core through this brick. We do that with the Bosch hammer drill from the outside. Where that line comes through is where we'll make the 90. Sump pump lids are really optional. We always put one on, but you can see I've already drilled the outlet through the lid so that when we're ready to install, it will slide right on and then the lid just locks in place. So let's go ahead and core that wall, and we're almost done. We're going to be using our Bosch hammer drill, and hammer drill is really cool. It spins and it also hammers, it pounds at the same time. We're using a 2-inch diamond core bit. Those little studs on there are diamond encased. They've got diamond, industrial diamonds on them. They make it really quick to go through. We've already made our measurement, basically counting over. You can see this is an easy measurement because between the vent and the crawl space door, but we're going to go right through this brick, right through this thing. So the hammer drill makes a nice clean core, and we're able to take this 1.5 inch PVC. You can see it'll slide right through there. Now we'll go inside and plumb this. Basically we're going to cut it off, put a 90, come down and just splash it out. Push your pipe through the wall, and remember we've got a riser that comes down here to the sump pump. We're going to go ahead and temporarily set it in place, and then we'll make the measurement to cut off for the 90. Got my 90 here. We can slide it back in the wall, out the wall a little bit, and you can see it's right there. Make a little mark, take it back apart, transfer the mark, and we're just going to cut it off. So let's go ahead and check it. Get it down into our pipe, and you can see it's going to fit really good. It's going to be really tight when we put this together. That's what we want. So now we're just going to go ahead and secure our riser to the check valve, and it's held together with hard rubber plastic and stainless steel bands. They're 5/16 inch nut driver, or a screwdriver works really good. Set your pump back down in the pit. Now we're ready to put the lid on here because we're ready to put the 90 back on the top. Now we're ready to snap our lid on. It just pops right in place, and we're all set. So now we're just going to plumb it with 90 down and another 90 to splash it out. We want to try to keep it kind of close to the wall. It doesn't have to be perfect, but cut this off. So you can see we can put a 90 on here when we glue it, and we'll just splash it out here at the bottom. Make our measurement. I just like to use the saw and transfer it. Remember, we're measuring to the inside of the coupling. Transfer that measurement, and we're all set. We need that rake. Now we're going to glue up our fittings. Let's glue this top one first. Good amount of glue. Remember, PVC cement sets up really quick. A lot of questions about primer. Primer helps, not always necessary, in my opinion. My joints never come apart, so. Now, I like to go ahead and glue the bottom piece on first, and then work from the bottom to the top, because it's easier to slide stuff in than it is to pull it apart again. Just twist twist it and hold it. Let it set for a second, and that's solid. And again, people ask me about primer. I see the comments sometimes, and you know, primer definitely cleans off and preps the PVC. If you get a good tight joint with lots of glue in it, let it set, it will not come apart. This is not a water line. In other words, yeah, there's some pressure from the pump, but it's nothing like water or gas. So now we're going to go ahead and just extend this out, to splash it out across the ground here. First I'm going to rake the area so we can cover it up with a pine straw. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.